The cool thing about Suikoden being a short series of games is it's easy to tell what the general consensus on each is. This is the good one, this is the oh my god it will change your life, whereas the lube one. This is the, for some reason, starting on the PS2, developers felt like long-ass intros where you barely do anything for hours were a good idea, but people still swear this is a great one. This is the terrible one you can skip, and this is the one that is usually seen as the second best in the whole series, the return to form. The one that just feels like classic Suikoden 1 and 2 greatness. There's also a bunch of spin-offs that like 5 people care about, but we're focusing on mainline games today. I beat Suikoden 2 for the first time last year and thought it was really freaking good, but not as good as other people make it out to be. Some people talk like Suikoden 2 is finding out that God is absolutely 100% real. I was still chasing that Suikoden high though, so on Facebook Marketplace I got this sweet ass haul of PS2 games for a really good price. I love this fucking cover, by the way. Just the use of colors is so beautiful. The blues and the reds. We all know that game covers usually vary from diarrhea with corn in it, or so bad it's good, or to actually great. And I don't think there's many that fall into that last category, so I'm just happy to see a cover like this. Especially since this series started off switching its anime-esque art for some fake-ass Dungeons and Dragons crap. I'm just glad we got out of that era where a lot of amazing Japanese box art was switched for some boring quote-unquote American crap. So because I'm a goddamn loser with minimal wanderlust, late last year I had a week's worth of vacation days to take. So I did so with the plans to burst through Suikoden 5. It's really hard to play JRPGs when you have a full-time job. The only way I can do it is by cutting out everything else in my life, like family, friends, exercise, sunlight, priorities. So starting up this game, I just was hit with an amazing premise. Straight up, one of the very best premises I've seen in a JRPG. You play as this incredibly feminine looking prince who, I don't hate this character design. In the beginning he looks a bit better, but this design, this outfit, it's just kinda... Listen man, I don't kink shame. There's this part in the game where he temporarily wears the clothes of the Suikoden 1 protagonist and he looks so cool. I wish there was a way I could have kept those clothes on him. Anyway, you're sent on this mission to inspect this land far within your kingdom. And you quickly find out that this kingdom is a matriarchy, which is fucking awesome. It's not just this little plot point, it's actually really fleshed out, and you see the queen, your mom, really flex her power and see how everybody obeys her and is low-key afraid of her. I think my favorite part of the matriarchy angle is that the men in the royal family don't really matter. Even some of the NPCs say that. They receive the utmost respect and courtesy, but since they will never be in charge of or in line to be in charge of the kingdom, they truly don't fucking matter. This goes double so for the prince who, again, will never be the king of his own kingdom. The first 2 Suikoden games have silent protagonists. 3, from my very limited time with it, didn't, and I never played Suikoden 4. So since 5 kinda channels that OG energy, it went for the silent main character again, but I really think if done well, having the prince speak would have been awesome. I really want to know what type of life he has, how he feels. Just imagine being born and having all of your financial needs taken care of from the get-go, and you're part of this famous family, but nobody really cares about you. Basically, the prince is Jaden Smith. But seriously, think about just how hollow a life that is. You have no real reason to push yourself because everything is given to you, but at the same time, low-key nobody respects you or has a reason to respect you. Even the king, Farid, while having some duties, is kinda just there to support the queen. I just think it was a ballsy move for the devs to do this because oftentimes, especially still in the mid-2000s, we see men as the ones having a lot of power in fiction, especially video games, and here we just have a whole game where the world, where this kingdom just centers around women and their power, and the men are just kind of useless. I just think it's fucking cool. So in the beginning of the game, while you're on this mission to explore this town deep in your kingdom, the prince is joined by 3 of his retainers, basically guardians. Leon, the childhood friend, who I can't stand. I hate this fucking anime archetype of this very innocent, high-pitched voice girl. It's just so annoying. There's George, who is the king's old friend. He has a mysterious past, and apparently he's also in Suikoden 2. I don't know how I didn't catch that. Lastly, there's his aunt Sayalid, who... Boy! This is his aunt? Yo! Listen, like I said, I don't kink shade. Sayaleeds is actually a really cool character and probably my favorite in the game, because you find out how since she wasn't the firstborn daughter of her parents, she was never going to be queen, so she never got to have a Sacred Games, which is a fighting tournament to decide who will marry the future queen and become future king. It kind of sounds terrible not to decide who the fuck your future husband will be, but you can tell Sayaleeds has a bit of sadness and bitterness for not getting to have one. For this reason, she and the prince are kinda kindred spirits, and I felt that with my time in Suikoden 5. They both kinda don't matter but are related to people who do. Kinda like Willow Smith. Okay, I'm gonna get flagged for bullying, I swear I'm kidding! So the prince and his retainers are in Lord Lake inspecting the damage from the queen using her sun rune 2 years ago. Runes are the source of all magic in the Suikoden universe. You explore this dried up forest and fuck yeah, this feels like Suikoden, baby. The battle screen feels straight out of 1 and 2. I am loving this. The sound effects, the music, even the loading screen looks like Suikoden 1 and 2. It kind of makes me wish this game was in 2D, but fuck it, I am loving this right now. After doing a little digging in the dried up forest and the dried up town, the villagers kind of speak of your mom, the queen, Arshta, as some sort of villain. And when you finally get back to the castle and you speak to her, yo. Yo, chill. Okay, from now on we're calling the prince Oedipus. So when you finally speak to her, she's pretty hard to figure out. In some scenes, she really feels like the villain in the game, and in other scenes, she's a sweet motherly person. You can tell that the use of the runes is really fucking her mind up, and it's an interesting plot point. Then there's Limslea, who is the younger sister of the prince, aka the future queen, aka she's more important than the prince who's the protagonist. That's also an interesting angle. Aka she seems to have a fucking crush on the prince? I don't know. It's just a weirdly obsessive relationship, and one of those weird things in Japanese culture that doesn't translate the best overseas. It kind of reminds me of the sister in Sword Art Online. It was hard for me to decide how I felt about Limslea, because on one hand, I wanted to like her as the little sister character to my protagonist, but on the other hand, her just weirdly obsessiveness over the prince was kind of weird. So for some really shady political reasons, Limslea's Sacred Games is pushed to happen immediately, even though tradition dictates she should be a little bit older when it does happen. During this portion of the game, you kind of start to see the dark underbelly of the political system and how other countries in this world feel about each other. Spoilers, it's not that good. You also get more reason to feel bad for Sayaleeds because you find out about her cancelled engagement, and now her ex-fiance is partaking in the Sacred Games to marry her fucking niece. Christ, that's just gross and sad. I think Suikoden 5 does a really good job at making you curious about most of its characters like Arshta, Farid, Sayaleeds, and George, and the Sacred Games portion really doubles down on that. It's honestly really cool. I played for a few more hours after this part where some bullshit happens and the prince has to lay low for a bit. Honestly, I made the Game of Thrones joke before, but this game seriously has a lot going on for it. If you're into story and a lot of lore, then this game is for you. And like I hinted at before, with the great music and the great sound effects, this game just has very good presentation. The cutscenes look pretty good for the PS2 era, the voice acting is pretty good. There's a lot to like here. Now I know you're not freaking stupid though, and you saw the almost in the title, and you've been waiting for me to shit on this thing the whole time. I just want to say beforehand that I haven't and don't plan on making videos about games that I hate or dislike. I find that really lame and pointless. I don't want to spread pointless negativity just to get clicks or shit. I'd much rather talk about games I think are good, great, or almost great but somehow missed the mark. Suikoden 5 is good at a lot of things, but I can't say it's a great JRPG because Suikoden 5 has something unbelievably foul about it, and I dropped it after getting 8.5 hours into the game. Remember this part of the video? Hold on one second. This is the, for some reason starting on the PS2, developers felt like long ass intros where you barely do anything for hours were a good idea, but people still swear this is a great one. That was foreshadowing. You like that? You like that foreshadowing? I just foreshadowed this next part of the video. Some little Uno reverse card action on you. Why? Because Suikoden 5 has a really god fucking awful intro. The second worst intro in any JRPG I have ever played. What's number one? I got 8 hours into Suikoden 5. In case you haven't noticed, all of the clips that I'm showing are from the intro of Suikoden 5. And guess what? I showed like maybe 40 seconds of battling. Yes, I got 8 hours into Suikoden 5. And I fought maybe 10 battles, and they are so fucking easy. The enemies do single digit damage, and your characters start with triple digit health. All you have to do is press auto once and you win. And I know you're probably thinking it's my fault for pressing auto, that I don't have to press auto, that I can engage in the mechanics. But when I have the knowledge that 1 or 2 presses of auto wins me the battle with no fucking thought put into the game, it's kind of like, why wouldn't I? In this long ass introduction, I should have been giving more opportunities to fight. Maybe there's that one monster that does crazy damage. Maybe there's a monster I have to watch out for because it inflicts annoying ass status ailments. Nope, there's none of that here. Just hit auto. And what happens when you finally get confronted with an actually tough enemy a few hours into the game? It's a fucking scripted loss. You have to lose. The first 8 hours of this game is walk, talk to NPC, walk, talk to NPC, walk, talk to NPC. Jesus Christ. If you go online, just Google when does Suikoden 5 get good, you will find so many threads of people asking when this game picks up. It's a hot debate within the Suikoden community. Should I keep going with Suikoden 5? You will see a lot of people asking that question. I even saw a guy say that they were 11 hours into the game and it was still fucking slow. Suikoden 5 is roughly a 50-hour game. Guys, I have to be honest here. I'm not a math person. I'm not smart. But if the first fifth, the first 20% of your game is boring from a gameplay perspective, it is not a great game. It's not like you're watching a 3-hour movie and the first 40 minutes are just plot setup and character building. Obviously, movies are a shorter runtime, and when you watch a movie, you understand that it is something passive. You're just watching events unfold. But when I sit down to play a game, I expect to play a fucking game. When I play a JRPG, I expect to customize armor, equipment, learn about the monsters I'm fighting, maybe even equip different skills and spells on my characters. Let's just settle somewhere in between my 8 hours and that random guy on the internet's 11 hours, and just say the first 10 hours of this game are a slow introduction. Guys, I just beat Final Fantasy 1 in 10 hours. That game is amazing, and I just feel like I spent a way better time doing that than playing Suikoden 5 for those first 8 hours. When a game relies so heavily on its story and the gameplay is piss easy, what is really the point of playing it? I honestly feel like I would have had more fun watching a walkthrough of it. Persona 3, 4, and 5 are some of my favorite games ever made. 4 is like 80 hours plus. 5 took me 120 hours to beat, and I was so freaking invested the whole game, even in the slower intros, which, by the way, are only like 3 to 4 hours in comparison to Suikoden's 8-hour slog. Because at least in the slow Persona intros, you're learning things like the characters, certain systems like the social mechanics, which are really essential for the whole game, and you're also probably partaking in 1 or 2 easy early battles, learning the rock, paper, scissors weakness system. You still are getting a lot in those slow intros of the Persona games. Player engagement is important in any game, even easy ones. Pokemon is really freaking easy. It's a JRPG for babies. All you have to do is use the Pokemon of the other type and you win. But it's still engaging because you're trying to build the perfect team for you. I think any game can make any gameplay style engaging. Look at Gone Home. That game has stayed with me ever since I played it for the first time many years ago, and all you fucking do in that game is walk. But the reason the walking is engaging is because you have no idea what's waiting for you at the end of a hallway, up the stairs, or behind a door. But this is an RPG. Probably the most engaging genre, because a player is supposed to have tons of control over their party and characters. But other than its narrative, there's nothing that engages me as a player. I'm engaged as a lover of good stories, but not as a player. Let me tell you a true story, alright? One day, me and my family went to a fancy steakhouse. No, not some Longhorn shit. One of those really bougie ones. I don't know why we went, we almost never do stuff like that. So of course we got some bread. It was some basic ass bread, nothing fancy. Red Lobster has better bread. Speaking of lobster, we also got the lobster bisque as a starter. And I'm not lying, the lobster bisque was so watery and flavorless, if I didn't order it, I would not have been able to guess it was lobster bisque. It was so bad that I'm not the type of guy to send something back or bitch at a waiter. I was a waiter for 2 years, a busboy for 1. I understand how shitty a job that is. But man, I really should have sent that fucking soup back. Another thing that was kind of obnoxious is that the sides were a la carte. So if you ordered a steak and you want like a potato on the side or vegetables on the side, it costs extra. So after the basic ass bread and the terrible lobster bisque, I ordered a New York strip, rare as fuck because I'm not a pussy. And you know what? It was the best steak I ever had. I am not being hyperbolic. That steak was amazing. You could just tell that it was sitting in that delicious buttery marinade for the right amount of time, and they took their care in cooking the temperatures seriously. It was perfectly rare, and everyone else on the table said their steak was cooked perfectly too. Maybe they had like specific grills with timers on them, but god damn, that steak was amazing. So here comes my point. Would I go back to that steakhouse? No. Why would I when so much of the experience wasn't enjoyable to me? The bread, the lobster bisque, the a la carte sides, the obnoxious price. Yes, the steak was amazing, but overall, all things considered, it wasn't worth it. Listen, to all you Suikoden 5 lovers, I am sure this is a good game. Honestly, I am. It really does look like it has the same spirit as 1 and 2, but never, under any circumstances, will I trudge through 10 hours just to experience a game's story and wait for a game to open up. Not when there's plenty of other amazing games with amazing stories that get fun fucking immediately. Maybe it's because I've been obsessed with Majora's Mask ever since I was a little kid. Time is just ingrained in my mind, time management. I'm really bad at it sometimes and really good at it other times. But guys, time is the ultimate currency. It's really the only thing that matters more than money. And I'm just not gonna waste my time on a game that takes this long to get good. If you're somebody who really loves books with a lot of world building and lore, but you also feel like you're not that good at video games, this shit is for you. Suikoden 1 holds a special place in my heart as one of my favorite JRPGs ever. Suikoden 2 is right next to it as an also great game. There's a place in my heart for Suikoden 5 as well, because it's kind of like when you have that one kid who's a fuck up but you still borderline love them. Is it bad that I think if I was a parent I would easily have a favorite kid? Who knows? Maybe I'll go back to Suikoden 5 one day and load up my save file. According to everybody, I'm really close to the part where it gets great. And it's one of those games that I still think about from time to time. I really like the characters. I really like the matriarchy angle. But I know myself. Even if I do go back and a hand comes out of the TV and gives me the best handy in the world, I just don't think it deserves to be so unengaging for 8 to 10 hours. That's like a season of a great TV show, 4 good movies, or getting really far in an awesome book. I just can't, man. We're in a really weird time for the Suikoden franchise. We've seen a couple of times now where the original creator or director of a famous series leaves his parent company, starts up an indie company, and tries to make a spiritual successor to their once legendary series. And right now, it feels like it's going to be Eiyuden Chronicles versus the Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster. And who knows, maybe if that 1 and 2 remaster sells really well, which I think it will because of Suikoden 2 being in there, maybe Konami will bring the other 3 games to modern consoles. And maybe, just maybe, we can get Suikoden 6. Because while this isn't my favorite JRPG series, it's one that is definitely special. It's one that stays in my mind a lot. And it should mean a lot that even after all the bitching I just did, I feel like Suikoden 5 is a very special game. It's just not a game for me. That's all I got for today's bitch fest. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below, maybe thumbs it up, maybe subscribe. If you like Japanese role-playing games and you like content surrounding them, please consider hitting subscribe or sending my channel to a friend who also loves JRPGs. It really means a lot to me. I will see y'all in the next video.